Hi, thanks for coming. We'll be doing a presentation on disability leadership at the board of directors level. So I'm sure we all know, historically, organizations supporting people with disabilities have been led by non-disabled people. And that is changing as some of the organizations, one of those being Creative Community Living Services, which is a board that I'm on, better known as CCLS, headquartered in Watertown. CCLS supports about 300 people with disabilities all over Wisconsin. I was elected to their board in 2024, the first person to serve with a disability on their board. I'm here with Dave Morstad, chair of the CCLS board. For the next 30 minutes, we will talk about the importance of board leadership by people with disabilities, what it takes, why we don't see more of it, and what you can do about that.
All right. As Cindy said, as Christy said, the organizations supporting people with disabilities typically have been led by non-disabled people. It's kind of the way it's always been, and sadly still is. Many, if not most, nonprofit organizations that serve people with disabilities in Wisconsin do not have disability representation on their boards. A little bit, the first truth telling I'll do today, not the last, is that I have no data to support the statement I just made, other than poking around at various websites. And if any of you are prepared to stand up and argue with me on that point, feel free, but I'll keep on defending it. So there you go.
But things are beginning to change. Why is change happening? I'll tell you. It's happening because there's greater attention to the nothing about us without us philosophy. Non-disabled people who run organizations probably have a good intention. They mean well, but they bring misconceptions with them, such as we think they think we need to be taken care of. Their ideas are driven by mercy and pity. They think we're not capable. We know when we're treated like a token person. And so we have been put in the back seat while they are driving the car. In the process, they're not just cheating the people with disabilities, but they're cheating themselves and their organizations. What does a self-advocate bring to a leadership board? Perspectives that nobody else has. We have lived experience with disabilities that we can share that nobody else can share. And our lived experience matters. Such as like, do white people truly understand the lives of Black families? Or can people outside the LGBTQ plus community truly understand what it's like growing up in the LGBTQ plus community?
One of the things that Christy and I have talked about is that from my own perspective, I'm an educated man. And I have learned a lot over the years when it comes to things like injustice and inequality, and I can tell people a lot about those things. But here's the thing. In the end, I am a straight, white, middle class, non-disabled, cisgender man. Two things about that. First of all, that's a lot of privilege stacked up there for all the world to see. Just the way it is. Didn't invent the rules, but I live in the world and I know what that is. But the second thing is, it has also left me completely unprepared to see the world through eyes that Christy has. And so I am stuck with that reality. It is a limitation that unfortunately I bring into the boardroom with me.
People with disabilities have something truly valuable, the truth. What we really want, not what you think we want.
So, what does a healthy board really look like? One of the things that I don't think anyone in any nonprofit board would argue with is that the board has to be diverse, diverse in its perspectives and diverse in its expertise. Boards need people from all kinds of walks of life. We have spent the last couple of years on the CCLS board saying, what do we need as a board? And we sought that out. We knew we needed somebody with finance background, and we sought that out, and we found a great candidate. We knew we needed somebody with legal background. We sought out a person like that, and we found it. We needed somebody with a strong business background. We needed somebody who could bring strong communications. And of course, we need people from the disability field. Healthy boards are by their nature diverse. If you've got one kind of person duplicated 12 times, you've got a lousy board. It's just that simple. A healthy board is also committed to a common vision, a shared goal, and a shared purpose. Among that diversity, there has to be respect. And the respect, you know, it shows itself in a lot of ways, but I think the biggest one is respect for the expertise you bring to the board, and also respect for what you don't have, and the respect that you have for other people and the talent that walks in the door. So healthy boards have a diversity about them, they have a unity of purpose about them, and there is generally respect for what it is that people are bringing into the room with them. So.
Just gonna share some experiences with my sharing my voice as an advocate, board member, etc. Being on the CCLS board is probably one of the biggest roles I've taken so far. Whoops. Yeah, just I've been on other committees or to do other speeches, but I've never been invited to a board of a place that supports people with disabilities to give my opinion or my perspective. I did Partners in Policy Making, as some of you may have heard of. It was a really great class to get me started on the government side of things and learn more about that, as I wasn't very educated in that, and that's actually how CCLS found me. Yeah, other examples, I've done presentations, I've done the keynote at this conference twice, been part of a panel, and just it opens up so many doors.
Yeah, I would say that one of the other things that happened was a bit of an intersection of some really great things. CCLS is headquartered in Watertown, which happens to be, oh, by the way,
Where I live, right
where,
down the street.
yeah, Christy was born and raised in that town. I had an acquaintance, although a passing one, with Christy's family. But I didn't show up here to give a shameless plug for the DD board, but I will tell you, yes, I do follow them on Facebook. And when they published their latest list of graduates from Partners in Policy Making, it's like, hey, wait a minute, I know that person. And that started a series of conversations. So sometimes I mean, sometimes the stars aligned and you just end up with a great fit, which I believe we did. Um, so now comes, I think, a moment of truth for us. Um, Everyone here has had a performance review on their job. Yes? How many of you got to have that performance review in a room full of strangers? Because I think that's about what's going to happen here. Christy and I just decided to have an honest conversation about how things are going so far. I don't expect a lot of big surprises. I bet we agree on a lot of what has happened. But I do want you to know that, and I'm bold to say this with the CEO sitting in the room, that we've done things that we probably could do better, and we've done some things that I'm really happy about. But I don't know. Let's talk about what we've done. Let's start with what we've done well so far. Um, I can
Well,
start. You want to
You
start?
can start. Go for
Okay.
it.
Well, let's start with the obvious one. I think taking this step and saying we cannot go on unless we have a person with a disability on this board. It doesn't matter what other kind of expertise we have in the room, however necessary that is, and it is necessary. I mean, we needed somebody with the various backgrounds that I described, but just having the board absolutely unanimously agree that this is where we need to be, and wasted no time in making that happen. We were as careful about it, I think, as we needed to be in this particular case, but I would just lead with one of the things we're doing well is we just made the decision to do that. We've made some adjustments along the way, which I think have been good too. I'll talk more about those later. I don't know. How are you feeling about it?
Well, I'm glad you selected me to be on the board. No, I think that was a great decision to actually have somebody with a disability on the board because again, that's the perspective. Want to throw some questions at me?
Yeah, well, along with that, there are things that I think we would do differently. I don't think we've failed miserably at many things, but I think there are things legitimately that we could do differently. And I will, this was going to come up in a little bit anyway, so this seems like a good time to do it. Our board meetings, it seems like a simple example, but our board meetings forever were happening every Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. And they went roughly, not usually more than 2 hours. And everything was going swell. So we thought. But I think we failed to pay close attention to the fact that Christy was frequently late. I will tell you that in Watertown, the public transportation rather, situation is not fantastic. We are a town of about 22,000 people. There is a shared ride cab service that is partially federally funded, that is there. It is not terribly dependable.
Could be on time, could be really, really late.
Yeah. And so we had passed that off as just one of those transportation things that we had to deal with. If we had had better communication sooner with Christy, we would have realized there was more to that situation.
Yeah, just with having a caregiver in the morning as well. My caregiver is at my house from 8 to 9, so having a 9 o'clock meeting and having to go somewhere else is not sustainable for me. So they graciously changed it to 10, which is much better.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's a little embarrassing to me that we didn't recognize it sooner. We should have. And while you're very gracious to describe the adjustment as gracious, it really wasn't. It was a necessary thing that we needed to do, period. And to the board's credit, I don't think we even like launched it out to the board. I think Kathleen and I just said, from now on, the board meetings are going to be at 10. And we just told the board that, and everybody was fine with it.
Everybody went, okay.
I mean, it's a little embarrassing that the fix was so easy, and yet we let it go. And I think there's a lesson in there for boards in particular, but the public in general, that for crying out loud, take the damn step and just do it right. So anyway, so there's that. We could have done that a little bit better, and it could have been solved with a conversation. I mean, that's the thing. But I'll say more about that a little bit later. But anyway, anything else you wanted to say about any other dirty laundry you want to air in front of this group? Let me state that another way.
Dave is a pain. No.
There you go.
No, it's really been an awesome opportunity.
All right. So let's, the big question for me is, why isn't every board doing this? I mean, I'm standing by the statement I made later that honestly, I mean, take a look at nonprofit boards that provide disability support services in this state. Just poke around at some websites and see if you come up with different data than I do. But I just don't think it's all that common. And so why isn't it? And this is the next bit of truth telling. And I don't have a lot of data for this either. I'm sure that it's out there. I just didn't bother to look at it. But I have some theories as to why it's not more common. One of the big reasons is it means letting go of control. In case you hadn't noticed, non-disabled people, when it comes to stuff like this, are kind of used to being in charge. And the idea of sharing authority does not come easy for everyone. I wish it were not true, but it is. And I'm not saying people are purposefully mean or that they mean any sort of, that they're reflecting any sort of demeaning attitude or whatever. They're perfectly nice people. I'm one of them. I'm a nice guy. But they're just not used to this sort of partnership approach or shared authority when it comes to this sort of thing. They, as Christy very rightly pointed out at the beginning, we have historically come from a perspective of mercy, of taking care of other people, of, you know what, relax, you're going to be okay, we got this sort of a thing, rather than having the kind of honest and respectful relationship where it belongs. So we're used to being in charge. That's one of the things. The other thing is that I'm convinced that most boards do not see the advantages of this. I don't know why. Maybe they need to come to conferences like this more often, but I think maybe they just fail to see these things. I mean, we can agree that boards need to be diverse, that every person brings a particular expertise. Why doesn't it occur to us more easily that something in that expertise is missing? That we have a tendency to see the advantage of diversity when it comes to law, business, finance, communication, nursing, pick your discipline there, but except when it comes to disability. And then we think we know stuff and we don't know stuff. So it's another reason. The other thing is it takes the right person. We have been very fortunate at CCLS. I will tell you that for a fact. I'd say that even if she wasn't sitting here, by the way. I say it all the time. We kind of got off a little bit easy, but this was our first step, and I don't apologize for that. There will inevitably be the next step we will take. I don't know when that will be, hopefully sooner better than later, but we will be taking that second step. I fully anticipate that it will be a little more work for us than this one was. But this was the greatest first step we could have taken. But it does take the right person. And not every person with a disability is the right person. I believe that boards need to work just as hard finding the right person with a disability as they do finding the right finance person. You can't just pick a CPA off of the shelf and say that person's going to work. We needed, because of the kinds of business that we do and the kinds of programs that we have, we needed somebody with, we wanted somebody with nursing background. We could have gone to the local hospital and found somebody with 7 or 8 years of nursing experience as a hospital floor nurse. That's not the right person. God bless those people, but we need someone else. And we found an individual who worked in the developmental disability field for a long time. Now she's a nurse instructor at a vocational technical college, and she came with exactly the right kind of fit and passion for the job. So it's the same thing when you look for an individual with a disability. You need to be picky about it. You need to say, is this the right person? Is this the right mix? What is the person's background? What are their interests? What are their real passions? That's what you need in a board member. Do they understand the responsibilities that it takes to be a board member? How clearly have we communicated that to the person? So it takes the right person. So I would list those kinds of things.
One of the big things, at least for me, and I'm sure for most people, that boards need to keep accessibility in mind. Physical accessibility, can I get into the building? Can I get into the boardroom? Can I maneuver safely and comfortably around our meeting space? Language accessibility. Are things presented in language I understand? Finances is not presented in a language I understand. The timing of meetings, like we said earlier, we changed the time so that it worked better for me. Yeah.
The language accessibility issue is, I feel safe in this group, so I could admit this. There was a moment when we were talking about this presentation that Christy and I looked at each other and we completely agreed with one another that we kind of smile and nod at the end of the financial reports.
We go, yeah, sure, that makes sense.
I worked in human services for 40 years, for crying out loud. I chose that field because I didn't think there was any math in it, you know? Well, here I am.
I chose advocacy because I didn't think there was going to be math involved.
So maybe we both need to be a little more vocal about, hey, can you give me that again in words I can understand? But anyway, which leads to an interesting next step, and that is that there has to be at some point training and mentoring involved. We have a board orientation program that everybody goes through. It's wonderful, but I wouldn't say that it is terribly individualized. And that probably is something not just for having an individual with a disability on the board, but board members in general. I think that, and I mentioned this earlier, that the training and mentoring piece, we got off a little easy on this one because Christy came into the room with a lot of that. I think that the next time around, we probably need to do a little bit better job at that, but we will be ready to do a better job at that, given the experiences that we've had so far. I think we need to be quicker to look around the room and just say to everyone, is this making sense? What's hard for you? What can we do better? So training and mentoring for the rest of the board, probably confronting openly preconceived notions. Hey, this is not about charity. This is about making our board better. This is about truth. You know, we can't, if you go to a lot of, if you go to a lot of websites of support providers, either in pictures or in words, you will find some version of the person with a disability is the heart of our mission. This is the sole purpose that we operate. This is the reason that we do what we do. This is the heart and soul of who we are as an organization. And then find that same organization locking the door to the boardroom where decisions are made. You know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's famous line about women need to be where the decisions are made. I think you could easily cobble that to people with disabilities need to be where decisions are made about people with disabilities. Board members who are not disabled need to hear that kind of message more often. So it's just a fundamental justice issue. They need to be where decisions are made. So, oops. Okay. Where do we go from here?
So steps forward for people with disabilities. First, you have to discover your passions. Like, my passions are advocacy, helping others with disabilities learn how to lead full lives and be members of your communities. In just whatever way I can possibly help them do that, whether it be through peer mentoring, being on a board, etc. And learn to be an advocate. My advocacy journey, I think, started when I did the youth leadership forum back between my junior and senior years of high school. I won't tell you how long ago that was. But I think
I have socks older than you. Don't start. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, it unofficially started then, and I was kind of like, okay, maybe I'm interested, but I don't really know what my career path is yet. Then I started working with BPDD, People First, and immediately was like, this is where my heart is. I need to speak up for those who can't speak up for themselves. I need to help people speak up for themselves and just be a role model and an outspoken voice for people, for a community that isn't so often spoken out for. We kind of just get pushed to the side. So,
Nice.
yeah.
This seems like a simple thing, but I just have to say it. One of the steps forward is to tell people you are interested. They probably don't know you, but every nonprofit organization has a board of directors. They probably all have terms of office, which means they are perpetually in a process of looking to fill positions. It might not be, oh, can you join tomorrow? Boards are notoriously slow about doing things. They should be. That's fine. But they're always looking for people. So write to them, call them, tell them you're interested. I would encourage people to do your homework, find out about the organization, find out who is there, say, hey, I'm in your town or I'm in your area. Who can I meet with if I'm interested in serving on your board of directors? Trust me when I tell you, they will like to hear from you. They will make time for you. This is an important thing. And do it to more than one organization, because at the end of the day, you are looking for a good fit. So are they. Nobody wants to be serving on a board that they find themselves, 6 months into it and go, why did I do this? I'm looking for reasons not to attend meetings or whatever. You're looking for something that is a good fit. So do your homework, make some calls, tell people you are interested in doing that. I would encourage you to do that. Give them a kick and let them know that it's time. Okay. We're about out of time, but
Any questions for us?
seriously, we were that good.
Come on. Thanks, Spencer.
I should have handed you the microphone. I always hand my. I would, speaking on behalf of the rest of the CCLS board, I will just tell you, this is the most selfish thing we ever did, was to bring Christy on board, because we all got better. So,
Oh.
Yeah.
Tell the world about that. And so I think it's really, again, very refreshing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Tim Shriver has this great line that is, I'm not a cop, I'm a teacher. And I think that's kind of what you're leaning into. And I would absolutely agree with that. There was a hand back there. Yes.
Aw, thank you.
Thank you very much.
What are I would do? What would you do?
I know what I would say, but do you have anything?
Keep picking people like me.
Yes, I would say, I want you to talk to Christy. Honestly, I would do a short version of what happened here today. A short version of, we're not perfect, but we know where it lies and we're leaning into it heavily. And just tell them the truth that, if this is the person we want, that I want them because they're going to make us better.
And I also went into this understanding that they're not perfect and they're going to learn things along the way.
Yeah, good point. Carving that into the bylaws and the Constitution that define how you do things. Yes, sir.
What are the type of boards are asking? How many boards? What type of boards?
What type of
Those
boards? This particular board is the Board for Creative Community Living Services. And it's an organization that supports individuals with developmental disabilities and some medically fragile individuals in group homes, adult family homes, and some in-home supports. We're into a couple of other little things too, but it's that kind of board. Yes. Yeah, I don't have any particular expertise on that. It's a very fair question, but I don't have that kind of thing. This is adjacent to your question and probably adjacent to this session, but I have a personal bias because I've worked for a lot of nonprofit boards, and one of the things that a good board also knows is its scope. I've worked for boards that have a very operational, let's dig into the weeds and run this organization kind of approach. I hate that approach. I don't think it has any place in doing that. I think you have some very specific responsibilities of a board. You hire a great CEO, which we did. You have some fiscal responsibilities and you set overarching policies, and that's pretty much it. And as long as you can stay in that lane, my guess is that the board is going to be just fine. And that's kind of where we are right now. The CEO is here. Would she disagree with that? Okay, good.
So that's just a
Yeah,
informational thing.
thank you. And I was careful to always talk about nonprofit boards with the assumption that we don't get paid a dime. It's very liberating. I'm old and I can say that.
I have to deal with you for free.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate you
Thank you.
being here.